Hello everyone, Wade from High Tech Legion here, and with over 1,500 videos uploaded, if you haven't seen it here, you may not have seen it anywhere. So in this video, I have another Z97 board in our series of boards that we've been doing, and this particular one is the Biostar Hi-Fi Z97WE board. This is a standard ATX size motherboard and is in the budget to mainstream price range as far as Z97 boards are concerned. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to show you the features of the board itself, as well as benchmarks for it and the accessories. So let's take a closer look at the board. So let's jump right into the features on this board. One of the things you definitely notice here is that we have a dedicated audio circuit. There's a little line on the PCB here that separates the audio circuit, like many others that we have looked at, offering better protection from electromagnetic interference and things like that. You definitely have your audio jack or your audio header here as well, right by that circuit, so it's right on the same area. Right along this edge, we have a system fan, and we also have a COM port, TPM, USB 2 headers, another system fan, a physical power button and reset button, and our front panel connectors, which are color coded, which is very nice. This little display will show the CPU temperature. We have a CMOS reset here, this one right here, and then we have the BIOS chip itself. Of course, under this big Biostar heatsink is the Z97 chipset, and we've got two standard PCI slots on it. PCI X16, PCI X1, second PCI X16, and another PCI X1 slot. Your CMOS battery and your M.2 slot for your small SSDs that you might want to put in here. You've got three sets of two SATA ports on the edge here, and they are labeled SATA 1 upper, SATA 1 lower, SATA 2 upper, SATA 2 lower, etc. And so that gives you a total of 6 gigabits per second SATA 3 ports on here. You also have your USB thread header on this side and your 24-pin power connector. Along this edge, you have another system fan connector, and you have two 4-pin CPU fan connectors, which is nice because a lot of the CPU coolers nowadays are using two fans, so this way you don't have to use any splitters or anything, and you'll get readings on each individual fan. You've got an 8-pin ATX power connector here, CPU for the CPU connection, and of course your LGA 1150 slot, some heat sinks on the VRM, and you have 4 DIMM slots here. These are DDR3 DIMM slots, and they support up to 2800 megahertz memory in them. All solid capacitors on it, and also Dual Gigabit, which I'll show you in just a second when I show you the back panel. Another system fan connector right here in the center of the board. So you've got system fan connectors kind of spread out across the whole board, which is excellent considering that usually you're plugging fans in from all different sections of the case for good airflow. Taking a look at the rear I/O, we see that we have a PS2 port. We have two USB 2.0 ports right below that, an HDMI port next to it, a DVI port next to that with a VGA port above it. We've got dual gigabit LAN connections here with 4 USB 3.0 ports right below it. You also have optical SPDIF out, and also 5 standard audio jacks. So as you can see, especially when we're considering this is a budget or to mainstream motherboard. You've got all the connectivity that you would need for any kind of basic system, and being that it's up to date with the Z97 chipset, you've got the PCIe M.2 standard included on it for up to 10 gigabits per second. So now let's take a look at our benchmarks, and then I will show you the accessories. Let's get a fairly basic set of accessories with this board. You get 4 SATA 6 cables here. They are straight on all sides and locking on both sides of each cable. You have your I/O shield, basic metal I/O shield on it. You get a CD with your drivers and user manual and any utility, Biostar utilities. We have a manual here giving you all the information that you would need in multiple languages, and you also have information on the hi-fi audio usage. Lastly, of course, we get a little bit of Velcro here, which they did have the SATA cables wrapped up with in the box, so they were nice and tight in the box. I hope you all enjoyed this overview and benchmarks for the Biostar Hi-Fi Z97WE motherboard. Definitely you can see from the performance and the benchmarks that it's right in line with our other Z97 boards that we've tested. There are definitely a couple things that I did not really like with this board. One of them was the UEF by BIOS. It was not clunky to navigate necessarily, but there were a couple things that didn't work, some mouse functionality, and also some things that were not set to defaults like they should have been for the 4770K at least, where the base clock was a little bit off and the turbo speed was a little bit off as well. A couple things that I did really like was the spacing on the PCI X16 slots. Gives you plenty of room for air movement between your graphics cards if you're putting 2 of them in there, and definitely you've got the M.2 capability, which was one of the big reasons to go for Z97, and also the separate circuit for the audio. Those are all great things for this. A couple other things that were negative was I personally don't like the gold theme, and longer graphics cards in this first PCI Express slot hung over the top of the SATA connections. That's it really. That's all I really have to say about this in conclusion. And don't forget to check out the full written review at hitechlegion.com. That's hitechlegion.com. And don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter pages. Take care.